Happy Sunday, and please bear with me while I try to assess why scoring 52 points on the road and beating Oklahoma State in Stillwater doesn't feel satisfactory today. First of all, there was no Mike Gundy on the sideline, and that was weird, right? It was weird. Was it weird for anyone else? Doug Meacham was on the sideline. There was a bit of that dead cat bounce as Oklahoma State played particularly well by their standards of late, especially in that first half. Baylor got it down the road. Sawyer Robertson has 5 total touchdowns, including a rushing touchdown. Finally, thank you for using your legs, Sawdog. Baylor's offense looked, again, sort of like they have, like against SMU in particular, where it's like, man, that felt like a B-plus game, not an A-plus game from our offense, and we still put up crazy points and yards, and this offense at its fullest potential is outstanding, despite the offensive line struggling again, not only up front in a couple of areas, but also in terms of penalties. Penalties in a Boone-Pickens stadium that was pretty empty, especially by Oklahoma State standards. Not a good crowd there to excuse some of those penalties. So good day overall for the offense. Defensively, y'all. I mean, it's not an exaggeration at all. It's just factual to say Oklahoma State boasts the worst offensive in the Big 12 a year running. One of the worst offenses in the country. And I think the tweet that summed it up for me was actually a tweet at halftime from Zach Smith. Zach is the Baylor beat writer for the Waco Trib here in town. And he pointed this out at halftime. The Cowboys came into this game averaging 324.3 yards per game and 172.3 yards through the air, ranked 115th in the nation in both categories. They had 349 total yards and 200 passing yards in the first half against the Bears. And so I know Baylor won. I know I'm supposed to feel good about a 3-2 record and a conference road win, and I'm supposed to be very optimistic. But that, again, that first half raised all the questions that we've been asking all season. Can this team get up for big games early in games? Can this team look excited to play football in the first quarter? Can this team play defense? Like, that's been a question all season since the Auburn game in the opener. Can this defense stop anybody? Well, the answer Saturday was no. Zane Flores at times looked like a guy who shouldn't be playing Power 4 football. No offense to the young man. Dude was not a very good quarterback. Made some plays against our secondary, though. Sure did. As did a wide receiver who had to change positions halfway through his college career because he couldn't stick at quarterback at the Power 4 level. Threw a couple pretty good balls against our defense, who, despite me saying all week here at Rogue Media that Oklahoma State was going to pull out the kitchen sink and run some trick plays, our defense didn't look like they knew that. That defense, the front seven got no push up front again. Oklahoma State looked like a fairly evenly matched team with us in the first half, and they're not talent-wise at all. So it's another win that leaves Baylor fans wanting more. It also raises some serious questions about Kansas State, who I don't know that there is another one-to-one likeness in the Big 12 right now to Baylor as much as Kansas State is. They are also disappointed. They had some Big 12 championship aspirations preseason, and now those have been shot, worse than Baylor's, in fact. They also just kind of had a bounce-back game against a team that's sitting at the bottom of the conference, UCF. Kansas State had a big win versus UCF. They now travel to Waco this coming weekend. And I got to tell you, this is a dangerous place to be for Baylor. You got to wake up and come out strong in that first half against Kansas State, because despite being a down year for the Wildcats, that coach, Chris Kleiman, is a great football coach. And that quarterback, Avery Johnson, I'm on the record as saying I think he's overrated, but the kid is an athlete. Kid can throw the ball. Kid can certainly run. If you don't come out with some force this week, Kansas State's going to beat you in your building. That home loss thing under Dave Aranda since 2022 is going to start to look really, really, really ugly again. And these talking points about the defense, about the players being able to start games fast, and ultimately that lead back to the Dave Aranda conversation. They're not going to end amongst most of the fan base until the questions are answered, right? I think that's the hard thing in life is I'll speak for myself. I'll stop speaking for the majority of fans. I love Dave Aranda. I want Dave Aranda to be Baylor's football coach. I want Dave Aranda to win championships at Baylor. That's what I want. But the questions about what we're seeing on the field do lead back to him. And at the end of the day, those questions don't go away until they're answered or until there's a difference. And the questions I have starting this week start to get a little bigger because we're now working with a sample size after 2021, 22, 23, 24, now 25, 4 seasons of evidence that lead to this question. Who is Dave Aranda without assistant head coach Joey McGuire? Or someone like him, someone like Joey? Who is Dave Aranda without Matt Rule's players on the field? I think those are both questions I don't want to be asking in 2025, but it's probably natural for us to be asking in 2025. And Dave Aranda has an opportunity for the rest of the season to answer that question. Who is Dave without Joey? Who is Dave without Rules players? I hope the answer is a really good football coach who can win games down the stretch. There's some evidence for that from last season, right? Not from 22 or 23, unfortunately. But that's an important question to answer before the offseason because after this year, you lose about 95% of your offensive production, especially if Bryson jumps, right? And I don't know if Bryson will jump or not, but you lose Sawyer, you lose almost all of the contributors on this year's receiving core. You lose Trigg, you lose, I believe, 3 offensive linemen. You might lose Spav. And maybe that's the third question we need to answer. Who is Dave Aranda without Spav? Who is he without Joey? Who is he without Matt Rule's players? Who is he without Spav? I think we need to find out the answers to those questions before this offseason. And again, I hope the answer is a great coach who wins games down the stretch. But we don't know till we know. And I'll just tell you, coming off that first half against what we just saw, and I'll just tell you, coming off of that first half in Stillwater, I'm still unsatisfied. Maybe that makes me a bad fan. Maybe I'm spoiled because I was up very close and personal to some big years for Baylor football. But I think we can get there again. I want to get there again. I think we've got the pieces on the field in a lot of ways to get there again. And I'm anxious because we need to get there again. We're going to answer all these questions and more as Terrence Ganaway reacts to the game in Stillwater. And then we welcome in Tim Watkins to Please Bear With Me. Tim, the longtime publisher of Bears Illustrated and someone who gave both me and Terrence a shot to kind of get into this media space almost 10 years ago and still a good friend of ours. It's going to be a great, lively discussion. I'm sure we're going to talk Stillwater. We're going to talk this coming week against Kansas State. I'm sure we will talk about Dave Aranda. Thanks so much for joining us. Chime in on the live chat if you want to be part of the show. We'll try to answer some of your questions tonight. Let's run that intro. This is Please Bear With Me. Oh, yeah. We're here. We are. I'm high above Waco in the Alico building. Terrence is at home. Terrence, thanks for Thanks for letting me get on my
What's
soapbox.
What's up?
I
Stay
got on
on
my
it.
soapbox. I
Stay
started the
on
show
it.
on my soapbox. I'm feeling a certain kind of way today, but I got it out. We are asking the questions. I'm not making any statements. I'm asking good questions, Terry.
Yeah. No, listen, I think the questions are justified. I thought about as I listened to your monologue, if Dave Aranda could sit in front of you and kind of go back and forward with you on your thoughts, and be able to describe what he's trying to get accomplished on campus and what he's trying to
Oh man,
do.
I'd love that.
Yeah. What would it change your mind?
Like, could he talk me into a vision?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But I I think that raises another point about him that I don't talk about this a lot, but some of my colleagues here at Rogue Dude, that dude does as minimum media as possible. And I can respect that if that's what he wants. I'm not saying every coach needs to be Lane Kiffin and have an ESPN documentary put out about them 3 days before a game. I think there are levels to this, but yeah, I would love to hear from him directly, like an overarching kind of response to some of these questions. Of course I would.
Yeah, I think my feelings for this program, the staff are well known. I definitely want to continue to give them all a shot at making me a believer, but it is tough to watch. We had a very good game yesterday where we beat a team we should have beat. And historically, it's been very difficult to play in Stillwater, even when they didn't have great teams. We went up there and we beat a team that is going through an emotional whirlwind and losing a coach that's been in that program for over almost 2 decades, I believe. And it is it still felt like we didn't really accomplish what we thought we would accomplish against them. Uh, 27 points, close to 500 yards, 450 yards of total offense. Is to a team that is still trying to figure out uh, what they're going to do the rest of the year. Who's going to play the rest of the year? Who's really going to? We've all been through it where there's not a coach and like everybody else is going through the motions. Uh, but hats off to Oklahoma State getting up and playing in a half empty stadium and giving Baylor a run for his money. Sawyer, I thought we could get him out and get some more reps from another quarterback on the team, but he played the entire game. And so when I think about what Baylor was trying to accomplish and my expectations we talked about last week, misaligned expectations is what happens, what frustration comes from in a relationship. And my relationship with Baylor football is that, my expectation was them to go up there and beat a team in the mouth. But then again, we played Sanford a couple of weeks ago and kind of felt the same way. So when am I going to get this nasty, yucky, bad feeling and taste out of my mouth? I don't know if it's going to be this year at all. I hope it is. But man, we got a long way to go. I see the light at points, but man, did that light get really dim really fast. And so great game by Sawyer in the offense. I thought we could have taken advantage of Oklahoma State a couple other drives, but we did what we needed to do on offense. I would have loved to have seen a stouter, more disciplined football team on the defensive side, but maybe we need 6 more years for that.
There was a commenter who shared your sentiment. By the way, if you're watching on X, thank you. Really appreciate it. Jump over to YouTube. 1, you could comment with us, engage us here on the live chat. 2, if you subscribe on YouTube, it helps me a lot more than if you watch on X. So would appreciate it. But however you watch, however you listen, if you're podcasting this later, thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, this commenter who I think is appropriately named Cynical Bear. I'm wondering if he came up with that name this football season, said the exact same thing, Terrence, during my monologue. So that's pretty funny. By the way, I might ask this again when Tim gets on here. Do you not think that if Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator currently, was working for Dave Aranda, the head coach currently,
Would he get fired?
he would get fired as the defensive coordinator? Don't you think? And I'm not ripping. I'm like, again, this is not me calling for Dave Aranda's job. I'm just like, I looked it up. The defense is ranked after yesterday. Baylor's defense is ranked 108th in the country in yardage on defense and 114 in the country in points allowed. I don't think that's a good way to keep your job as a DC. Generally speaking, it was really frustrating yesterday, Terrence, because I thought that might be a momentum gainer for that defense, and it was not.
Yeah, you are spot on. We need to figure out statistically where were we in 2022. I think we fired our defensive coordinator after 22, right? And then we fired Grimes after 23.
I'll look right now while you talk.
But I wonder what statistically we were, because honestly, it was a surprise to me at the end of the season because I felt like the offense wasn't great in 2022, and that defense did what they did to help, position us to get wins. And then at the end of the season, I thought lifelong friend and a mentor or something like that to Aranda was fired. I was like, oh, snap. And then obviously the regression continued in 2023, and we had to get rid of Grimes. And,
Right.
This is year 2 of Spavital. Man, listen, that's a great question. I think if we know Dave Aranda, he will wait to the end of the season to fire himself. But I don't know, man. It is not good, and it doesn't bode well when you're trying to build an identity as a football program and a play caller and a head coach. And I've never done any of those outside of video games. And so I know that
Right.
I know there's a ton of pressure, enormous pressures for him to do so. But I'm just waiting for us to get better in some areas. To say the linebacking group is the best group on the field by far. The safety group is the best group. Like there's still so many holes. Like, are they having joint practices, or is everyone doing individual drills? And then we show up on Saturday and we try to mesh it all together. I don't know, man. I can tell you that it's ugly. The baby's ugly. The bathwater's dirty. And I don't know if we can ever put enough lipstick on it to make it look pretty, but I'm tired of. Listen, I don't know if anything I say means anything outside of this podcast, but I'm tired of watching bad football. It's just, I don't know, man. I just have high expectations, and we're constantly missing the mark.
To answer your question, I looked it up. So again, currently, as of today, which, we're not even halfway through the season, so that's okay. We got time. But as of today, Baylor's ranked 108 in the country in yards allowed and 114 in the country in terms of points allowed. In 2022, Baylor was ranked 58th in yards allowed and 72nd in points allowed.
There's your answer.
So not great, but significantly better than currently, to answer your question. Yeah.
And we're going to face better teams on the back half of this year. I think offensively than we face. Arizona State, they didn't, they just won another one. I thought Michigan State was going to win, not Mississippi State was going to win, which would make their resume look even more impressive. But man, did they beat TCU and us in back-to-back weeks. But their offense didn't do a ton against us. I think TCU, they're going to be able to spread the ball around. They got a good quarterback in Hoover, made a couple of mental mistakes at the end of the game against Arizona State. Kansas State looked the best they've looked all year.
They did
against UCF last week and Scott Frost. I'm just trying to think about when a coach went back to their school that they left. Have they ever been successful? And I don't know if I have a example of anyone leaving a school for something better and then coming back and being successful. Rich Rodriguez is at West Virginia. Scott Frost. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, but you saw that Arkansas brought back Bobby Petrino today.
They elevated him.
Back to the head coach, baby. And
I don't think this long term. I think they're going to try to find somebody to be their head coach. And who would that be? Kendall was their OC. Kendall Browse was their OC a couple of years ago. I don't. Oklahoma State. There's going to be some big jobs, Power 4 jobs open this offseason.
Yeah.
Which, to your earlier monologue, it could leave us without an offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And so if you lose Spavital, do you lose Bryson Washington? Do you lose your recruiting class offensively?
Right. Who knows?
I mean, it is like, and I think everyone kind of figured it out early. This was a do or die year from hey, if you got to produce this year. And
right.
We're winning games. Sawyer's playing lights out.
By the way, Sawyer, who you've been texting me how much you love Josh Hoover, who did not throw a touchdown in that game against Arizona State, by the way. Didn't throw one. Sawyer only has 17 touchdowns to 3 picks through 5 games. I think that's pretty dadgum good, Terrence. I'll just say it. If you had told me that before the season, 17 to 3, 5 games in, I would have said absolutely. I'll take it every time. Love that guy. By the way, that game against Oklahoma State did get a defensive coordinator fired. It just wasn't Dave Aranda. It was Todd Grantham at Oklahoma State got fired after
today.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you said in your monologue we scored 52. It was score was 45. But
well, that's part of why I don't feel as good because I had the score wrong when I was yapping.
Yeah. No, man. I think let's just.
Of course, I gave us one more touchdown in my mind.
Well, let's call it what it is. If we don't have Sawyer Robertson, this team is not a very good team. I don't think we have a second passer on the team to be able to come in the game and lead our team on the offensive side. And sometimes they just sputter out. You're like, what is going on with the offense? Like we expect them to score every drive. Bryson Washington only having 11 carries frustrates me.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, why run Sawyer, with a few minutes left in the game, wide open? It's a walk-in touchdown. But I want him to run when the game's on the line. I don't want him to get rolled up on and the game is not even close.
Well, and I believe he got tackled actually earlier in that drive. He ran another time and got tackled. So your question is valid.
Yeah,
we're asking a lot of valid questions today, I guess.
Just save it for later, man. We'll be okay. But listen, he's playing well. We are definitely leaning on him heavily. I would love for us to be more of a run first team, both with Bryson Washington and Sawyer. But it doesn't look like that's the identity or the route that Spavital wants to go. Spavital wants a 400-yard passer each and every week, which may be what we're trying to do and lift him and loft him up to Heisman contention. If we don't win a lot more games, then it doesn't matter. It's a moot point.
Facts. By the way, you said run the ball with Bryson, run the ball with Sawyer. Caden Knighton touched the ball 6 times Saturday and had 120 yards. So I would keep giving that young man a few carries a game too. Speaking of giving someone carries, we've got a friend, beloved colleague, Bears Illustrated's own Tim Watkins is here with us this evening. Timmy, I've never called you that before in my life. Hello, Tim. How are you doing? Tim is figuring out the StreamYard.
Tim is working on a Sunday, man. Come on, get in the casual shirt.
There we go. Sorry,
hey!
guys. I completely didn't hear anything you said. Something messed up with my computers. I am casual, man. This is casual.
Well, you're a very hardworking man. I'm super casual. Bad. Welcome, Tim. Good seeing you, man.
Thanks, guys. It's been a minute since I've been on, and Woo, that game was something. It was a roller coaster of emotions that most of the time you don't experience in an 18-point victory, where outside of being 7-7, you really led throughout. They never had the ball, looking to tie the game. But there was a lot left wanting from that effort, especially defensively. I think we're all pretty happy with where the offense is. Terrence, you were saying we need them to score every time they touch the ball. And that's not the confidence in the offense. That's the lack of confidence in the defense that is really driving that. And that is supposed to be Dave Aranda's wheelhouse. That is what he is elite at. There aren't any excuses anymore. He's calling the plays. He's doing the game planning. He's running that side of the ball. We brought in significant resources from the transfer portal, though 2 of the key linebackers they brought in are injured now for the year.
And a safety. Yeah.
And a safety. Those are big losses. But still, it's his recruits. It's his transfers. It's his scheme. And it's not working. It's simply not working against Auburn, against SMU, and now against Oklahoma State. And that is an offense that I don't know if Baylor will see one that's worse left this year.
We won't. Tim, I asked the question right before you got on. I said, would Dave Aranda, the head coach, fire Dave Aranda, the defensive coordinator, after this season? And I think that answer is kind of obvious where we stand right now after week 5. I think that answer is kind of obvious.
Yeah, it's the Jerry Jones Cowboys persona. It's like, would Jerry the GM fire, or Jerry the owner fire Jerry the GM? If he does have to fire Dave Aranda as a defensive coordinator, I think that's the final nail in his coffin. Remember, one of the things he did to hold this job after a couple of down years was to get more involved, get more engaged in the defensive scheme, change his player analysis look, change the NIL strategy, change a lot of this stuff. Baylor has stepped up and met those obligations, met those demands, for a lack of a better term. And yet the defense is, I don't know if it's better than last year. I don't know if it's worse. It's worse in a few key spots. And that's just not good enough. Not with what we've spent, not with the resources that they've brought in, and not with his history. This would be by far the worst defense he's ever coordinated in his career.
Yep.
I said earlier that if he did, he'll wait to the end of the season.
Well, I think that's clear, because I don't think there's another person on there that, I mean, Matt Palage has a year of calling defensive plays.
And that didn't go well.
And that did not go well.
Did we say like he hasn't called plays since like a powder puff league? Like,
no, he called plays in a powder puff game. Was the last and only time he had called defensive plays. And look, I like Matt Palage.
There's no other school. There's no SEC school that would ever promote that stat for an incoming head coach. They would rather just say, like, first year, it's going to be a big task. Like, no one would ever promote, like, oh, this is a cool thing, except Baylor. I mean, it's the most elementary. Anyways, I don't want to get on a Bears rant, but
we have the Lord with us, Terrence. We have the Lord with us.
It's the Sabbath, man. It's the Sabbath. So I regress.
Oh my gosh, guys. I knew this is why we bring in Tim. It's going to be a lively discussion. I said it's absolutely true. By the way, if you're watching live on YouTube, you can jump into the live chat, drop a question. I'm seeing some comments come in. It's honestly a little quieter than it's been the last few weeks. I wonder if Baylor fans are just tired of it. They're tired of it after seeing a bad defensive performance again. But if you have a question, drop it in the live chat on YouTube. We'll address it. If you want to talk to Tim, Terrence specifically, drop their name. I'll make sure to address them specifically. These guys are the best. Tim, I said in the opening, I don't know if there's a more parallel team to Baylor in the Big 12 conference right now than Kansas State. Now Kansas State has it a little worse, to be honest with you. I don't think Baylor, I'm not here to say like Baylor's as bad as Kansas State in this moment and at this point in the season. But as far as some kind of Big 12 championship aspirations up front, a lot of confidence in your quarterback, and you come out and underperform. I think that's true of both teams. Now Kansas State comes to Waco, and I don't particularly think this quarterback is great, but dadgummit, against our defense, can Avery Johnson make some plays? You betcha. You betcha. And am I worried about our team's need to wait until the second half to turn it on in several of these games? You betcha. I don't want to go down by 2 scores at home against Kansas State with Chris Kleiman coaching that team. Where is your head at when it comes to this coming weekend's game?
So Kansas State got the Dublin hangover. We saw that from Florida State last year, where they were just awful until they had their bye week, until they could kind of right size, and then they were just bad. Kansas State had their bye week the weekend prior. They come back, they play a undefeated UCF team that was really untested and one that I had ranked still in probably the bottom third of the Big 12. But Kansas State dominated them, took care of business. They were able to get their running game going. They were able to get a little bit healthier as well. So I think they're going to be coming into Waco with a little bit of confidence. And look, 0 or 1 losses, I think, will pretty much guarantee you a spot in the Big 12 title game. 2 losses you're probably going to need tiebreaker. 3, you're absolutely going to need tiebreaker luck. So Kansas State isn't fully out of it. They're a team that I had second in the Big 12 conference preseason. I thought they were going to be really good. I loved their defense. I'm a big Avery Johnson fan. He does a lot of things that stretch college defenses very, very well. We saw that against UCF. Baylor has struggled with mobile quarterbacks. Baylor has struggled with quarterback power. Baylor has struggled with counter and any sleight of hand misdirection. Get going one way, the eyes going one way, the body goes the other way.
Just wait till a receiver's throwing a pass and that defense doesn't know what to do.
But you want to talk about Kansas State offense, quarterback power, misdirection in the run game. So this is going to be a significant test for the Bears defensively, making sure that they're maintaining their gaps, they're maintaining their assignments, they're doing the right things on the right plays, because against a team like Kansas State, it takes one person being out of spot and it's a touchdown. You have to have that level of discipline, and Baylor just simply hasn't so far this year. I've just been hoping that Baylor can get a win against Kansas State, get to the bye week 4-2. We have seen last year Baylor was a different team, especially defensively and especially running the ball after the bye week. We've seen that consistently under Dave Aranda, where they have had improvements coming out of the bye week. They've got a big test coming out of the bye week against TCU. They're going to need to play a lot better than they did against Oklahoma State to beat Kansas State, and definitely to beat TCU.
Yeah, I agree, Tim. I think that if we want to continue to move our season forward in the right direction, we have to play really well this game, because I don't think it gets any better the rest of the season. Maybe with UCF, who Kansas State just beat up on, but we got TCU. We go to Cincinnati, who's 3-1, has a good team. Their only loss was the first game of the season against Nebraska. Then we got Utah at home. We go to Arizona. Arizona was undefeated until Iowa State just, blitzed them this past week by almost 20 points. And then we finish out the year with Houston, who's 4-0. And so, yeah, it doesn't get any easier from this next weekend. We get a bye after this, which will help us prepare for TCU. But this is a must win. I know we get on here every week and say this is a must win, but this is definitely a must win, because the teams are progressively, at least to this point of the season, these teams have been playing better than Kansas State. Kansas State had a phenomenal game last week against UCF at home. We getting them here, but if they get ahead and we can't get off the field, Kansas State MO is to have our offense on the sideline for 40 minutes of the game, 2/3 of the game, and it's hard to get a rhythm, especially if we don't run the ball. Bryson only had 11 carries. Knighton had 6 carries. And if you throw 3 and out against the Kansas State team and you let them get the ball back and they put together another 5, 7, 8 minute drive, then you talking about, every time everyone's talking about the energy and the atmosphere. Last time we had a game in Waco, Kansas State's offense loves that. And that's their MO, is to, suck the life out of the stadium. And, Dave Aranda has to get ready to, protect the line of scrimmage and keep Avery Johnson from getting comfortable. They're throwing the ball a lot better than they have been because he's a dynamic player. But if he ever gets loose, I mean, it feels like every quarterback we've seen this year has been a dynamic quarterback. So the list doesn't get any better as we move forward after this game. And we can finish it, 3-3, or we can go up 4-2, which gives us a chance to go out there and finish off the season properly. But I think the only win that, if we're just straight up, is UCF after this. That I'm super confident. Now Baylor can win any of those games, then that's why you play the game. But the win that I'm confident in is beating UCF at home, because all the other teams are playing really well at a high level.
So I find it interesting. One thing, and I heard you say it before I hopped on, about Bryson only getting 10 carries. I think that was by design. I was kind of tracking him to get 10 to 12 carries. I'd love to see him break 100 yards on that. The simple fact is we've been riding Bryson, and we didn't need him to tote the ball 15, 20 times. Michael Turner led him with 13 carries. Caden Knighton had 5 carries. We spread the wealth. Even Joseph Dodds got 4 carries. Everybody was effective. This was a strategic choice, in my opinion, to save some bullets, put them out of the chamber, get them away, and get Bryson. I expect Bryson to have 20, 25 carries next week against Kansas State. He has to. Baylor, I don't think, can win with Michael Turner and Joseph Dodds and even Caden Knighton. They need a 25 carries, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns type game from Bryson Washington. They need him to be the best running back in the Big 12 conference. They didn't need that against Oklahoma State. They could play the freshmen. They could run them. So I was expecting Bryson to get 10 to 12 carries. I was like, that's good. Hopefully we'll break 100 yards, get a touchdown or 2, and we can rest him. We need those bullets for next week, because he's going to be running to the ground, because coming into that bye week, he'll get rest, and then we got another road test against TCU.
That's a really good outlook, and you're probably on the money there. Does Sawyer need to stay in the game for a full game? What were the thoughts on his reps? I felt like obviously our defense didn't give him the option, because it seemed like Oklahoma State was a play away from making it a much tighter game every time they got the ball. So you don't ever want to sit a quarterback and try to get him back in rotation. But those last 2 drives kind of felt like we could have had someone else, especially the second to the last drive, where we leaned heavy on the running game.
Yeah, I didn't like that Sawyer was in their last 2 plays. I think there were 3 drives in the third quarter where the defense actually got 3 and outs. They got stops, and the offense just did nothing. That could have taken that from 2-score game to a 3-score game, and then really just buried Oklahoma State. We saw the same thing against Samford, where when Baylor had a chance, when the offense had a chance to really step on it, bury it, put no doubt about it, they didn't do it. Same thing against Oklahoma State. They had the great short 2 or 3 play drive to start the third quarter with the long touchdown pass to Kobe Prentice. All he does is catch touchdowns. And then a Bryson Washington 12-yard run and a 3 and out after that. The turnover on Caden Knighton, long catch, great play, put 2 hands on the ball, young man. And then another short drive that ended in a punt. Each of those times you had a chance to make that a 20-plus point game. You had a chance to extend that lead and really get it comfortable. And they didn't do it until the midway through the fourth quarter. They got it to an 18-point game. At that point, the game really wasn't in doubt. We got some stops. I would have pulled Sawyer out of there. put in Walker White, put in Nate Bennett, get the other guys some reps, save that. Sawyer did keep the ball twice, which is great to see. He got the touchdown to make it an 18-point game. That would have been his last play for me. He had the other drive. He kept it again on I think that was a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1.
Yeah. It's a short down.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of earlier. Yeah.
And I loved seeing that in the first or second quarter in a close game, not in the late fourth quarter of a game you're up by 3 scores and have a 99.9% chance of winning. That's the time to make a business decision, not go for broke.
Almost felt like there was, to add to the Heisman campaign. Like he didn't.
There is no Heisman campaign, man. It was never real. It was never going to happen.
There isn't one now.
Whoa!
It was never going to happen, man.
Whoa!
Even if it leads college football in passing.
Oh, Tim, slow down.
I'm sorry.
Whoa!
Tim, if we go undefeated the rest of the season and win the Big 12, there is 100%
winning the Heisman.
100% chance. He might not win it, but he is top 3 in New York early December.
Easily.
I could see him being a finalist, best case scenario. I don't see him winning it. Don't see him winning it.
Tim, if Baylor wins the Big 12 and we go win our next 7 games and Sawyer does what he does, 4 touchdowns, 400 yards, no interceptions, who's going to win it?
This is from the man that just said, I look at our schedule and I'm only confident we can beat Utah.
Listen, this is hypothetical.
I'm just saying.
Listen, UCF is the only one I'm confident in. The only one.
You guys.
The only one I'm confident in.
Y'all are both smoking.
I deal in the real world. We're not running the table.
You don't want the real world, TG, man. I don't think my wife likes the real world, TG. All right, so Tim, let's talk about Scotty and I go back and forth on here. We get guests to come on, but we never talk about recruits. What are recruits feeling? Are we still getting recruits coming to games? Are they excited? And I know it's a different world with NIL. I was in a suite, the Auburn game, and Scott Drew came in, and I'm dapping him up, and I asked him hey man, are you not entertaining recruits? And he said something that just shocked me, but as I said on it, it made a lot of sense. He said, man, we don't see a lot of recruits at game anymore. NIL, it's about money now. And I'm just thinking man, Auburn versus Baylor, first game of the year, this is a big game where it's a Friday night. You can go to our game and then drive down to, A&M to watch their first game. Why wouldn't you be there? But it's a different time and period that we live in. But from you, who may follow recruits a lot closer than I do, I feel like I care about people once they're on the roster, because it's just hard to keep up with all these kids. But what's the pulse of this football team from recruits, and what do they think the direction is of Dave Aranda and his staff?
Yeah, I first off, congratulations. That was a great humble brag. Sweet, hanging out with Scott Drew. Love that, by the way. Second, I would say it's fair to say the 2025 class and 2026 class are some of the better recruiting classes Baylor's has had in the past 25 years, at least in the top 5. So the amount of talent that they are able to drive into and get the 2025 class, they close on a lot of really, really good players. 2026, it's even higher ranked right now, 31st in the 24/7 Sports Composite. Baylor historically has been 35 to 50th. Really, we've touched the top 25 a few times, usually in the bottom 5 of the top 25. This was a classic, especially if it was larger, that I think actually could have competed. They needed to keep some of the decommits they've had, and they needed to really run the table. But even at the Arizona State, and the Auburn game was weird because it was a Friday night, high school football. They didn't have a lot of action from the recruiting world then. Arizona State was a big one. They had 5-star caliber players in the 26, 27, and 28 recruiting classes on campus for Arizona State. Most of the reaction was positive. They liked the environment. They love the uniforms. I think there's a lot of juice right now when it comes to Baylor recruiting, and that they also see a lot of opportunity, especially defensively. I mean, Dave Aranda is really pushing on I send linebackers and edges to the NFL. I make them a lot of money. And there's always been two positions that I thought Baylor should be able to recruit better than their historical kind of recruiting success. And that is linebacker and then is edge. Jamarian Carlton is a top 40 player. Defensive lineman, defensive end out of Temple, Texas. Luckily, this class was very heavy for local guys. So Jamarian Vincent, a cornerback from Waco,
Yep.
London Smith, a wide receiver from Waco. I mean, they've got 4 guys that are 4 stars right now. Baylor usually averages 1 to 3 for most classes. I usually look at high 3 stars, so 87 grade and up is something that I really track. Last year, Baylor had more than half of their class that was 87 or up, or actually 88 and up. This year, it's about 3/4 that are at that 87 and up, including Quinn Murphy, who I promise Baylor fans, we're going to get him rated properly. He's rated way too low on 24/7 Sports. I'm having conversations with the people that can do the things.
Start him.
Quinn's a dude. He's got a lot of fans on 24/7. He has a guy that still has questions on him that unfortunately makes the full grades and is the final sayer. But he's also the guy that put a 94 grade on Jamarian Carlton, a 93 grade on Jamarian Vincent after camp, a 93 grade on Jordan Clay. So Baylor has a lot of guys that are higher rated than the other industry rivals, On3, ESPN, etc. I'd still put 24/7 Sports rankings against anybody else when you look at the aggregate, when you look at the whole. Will there be 1 or 2 players every once in a while that are a little outside the whack? I think Quinn Murphy is. Yes, but there's excitement. I think Dallas Baker, Keenan Hall, Matt Powledge. There's a lot of really, really good recruiting coaches on this staff. Baylor has invested heavily in their recruiting departments. They have added additional personnel players. There's a lot of excitement. They play an exciting brand of football, at least offensively. That's why we got Jordan Clay and London Smith. Defensively, they offer a lot of opportunity for early playing time, and they offer a lot of hope, especially on the defensive ends, defensive line, and linebacker, where we put players in the NFL, and that's what Dave Aranda is selling, and it's working.
I wonder, Tim, I think this is what makes the rash assessments of the season and the Aranda questions like way more complicated, infinitely more complicated. In fact, like I feel like if Baylor was pulling its kind of mean, like regressing to the mean in terms of what kind of recruiting class, like you described, 1 or 2 4 stars, couple stud 3 stars, and then a bunch of just Texas kids, a bunch of just Texas 3-star guys. I feel like it'd be a lot easier to go, man, I'm not seeing it in the stadium. I'm not seeing it on the field. We've got all these home losses to Power 4 schools. Recruiting class ain't great. Okay, bye. But it's like way more complicated a conversation. Like what, I mean, I've been asking friends in my personal circles, what happens if Dave Aranda wins 7 games this year at Baylor, which would absolutely be disappointing coming off an 8-4 campaign last year and returning your entire offense, basically. What happens if he wins 7 games, but we keep this class? Like nobody decommits during that time. We get to December and all these kids are ready to sign. What do you do? Like, what do you do? Can you explain for me? There's a dissonance there. Like, how does Baylor go 4? What was the stat, Terrence? 4-12 since 2022 in Power 4 games.
Yeah,
at home. How does Baylor keep doing that at home? I mean, I put it up on the screen last week. The only teams Baylor has beaten at home, Power 4 teams since 2022, are Kansas twice, TCU once, and Oklahoma State once. That's it. How does Baylor do that at home? And yet, when recruits visit at an Arizona State loss, they're like, I love it here. Or when and I love Baylor, so I'm glad they love it. But or like a Jordan Clay, or like when Jordan Clay signed, I was flabbergasted. He signed with Baylor. I was shocked. I think Carlton and Vincent being like local, I was kind of like, okay, they're going to stay close to home. getting a San Antonio kid who's a borderline 5-star receiver is crazy. That's crazy to me. Can you talk a little further? I know you gave a little bit on this, but how are they doing it? How are they doing it when the on-field success doesn't match like a 2019, a 2021, a 2014 kind of Baylor big success year?
They've got really good recruiters. Dallas Baker is a stud.
Yeah.
He got Jordan Clay to commit. Keenan Hall played a big role in that. He's absolutely an elite recruiter. Baylor has really, really good recruiters. I'd say this is the best recruiting staff that they have ever had. Better than anything that Browse had, better than anything that Rule had, from just looking at it from a recruiting personalities, building relationships, getting kids to buy into the vision, and closing the deal. I think Matt Rule got close, but he couldn't close on a couple of those guys, especially as he was flirting with the NFL every 5 minutes. It's about a long-term vision that Dave Aranda has, and is Dave Aranda a perfect coach? Absolutely not. I think he's somebody that everybody respects, everybody likes, and everybody wants to win. And I see the chats, fire him, get rid of him. He's not the guy. I don't necessarily believe that. I still don't, even though don't read our group chat threads with
I wasn't gonna say it.
I'll call myself out.
I wasn't gonna say it. That's not what the text message I got yesterday said.
I get emotional.
No, Tim. I think you're 100% right. And I kind of feel this way too. If you blow up everything, then we're gonna be 6-6 until the new coach figures out like how to pull resources from donors to get NIL and all this stuff. And I just think there will be a governor on a new coach like a GJ Kenny, someone who doesn't come in with a lot of great decades of winning at a high level and having success. We get Dabo Swinney. Yes, he comes in, he says, hey, this is what I want. Baylor matches it. But I don't think a new and upcoming coach would have the clout to do that. So I feel the same way. It's like, man, we got to get someone else. But then I realized that if we get someone else, then a lot of this stuff blows up. So my question then, Tim, is if we go 6-6, we may lose Spavital and Aranda. If we go 9-3, we lose Spavital anyways. So I don't know. I don't know Spavital. I don't know his agent. I don't talk to him ever. But I find it very hard to believe that we're able to keep this staff and this recruiting class together and still, like, recruiting coordinators, sorry, not class, recruiting coordinators together, whether Baylor they finish undefeated and win the Big 12 or we drop to 500. So that's the difficult part is I feel like this is the moment we have to prove, proof is in the pudding. Is Dave Aranda our guy or not? And so it's go big, or bust. And I don't know if we're going to go big this year. I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence that the defense is going to be able to do that. Offense, we'll be fine. We got talent there, and we got talent on defense. Next man up, man. Why do we have to keep talking about recruits? That's why we have depth. That's why we practice rotation. In any other league, if you lose a Robert Griffin, it sucks. But you got to find out, all right, what we're going to do to continue to win. I mean, Ohio State went through like 3 quarterbacks one year, and they still won a national championship. Now, they had Ezekiel Elliott and a bunch of other great athletes around them. But why can't we just say, all right, next guy up. Let's coach this guy up. Spend extra time in the film room. Well, we're not getting beat on plays, on easy concepts. I sit at home and see it from a mile away. And I would assume that we're breaking down film and studying short yardage, this formation, and we should have someone call out and be pointing and communicating throughout the entire pre-snap movement. And I don't know, man. I just feel like the details are not there, which is why we don't win games. But anyways, we don't do what we need to do fundamentally on defense. We're winning games. But my question, Tim, is how are we supposed to keep this staff together?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm not as confident that Spav leaves if they go 6-6, 7-5, 8-4, 9-3. He was a head coach at Texas State, and that was, I think, unmitigated disaster is how I would phrase it. It did not work, and that's the kind of job that you would expect him to be great at and great for. If GJ Kenny gets promoted, goes to Oklahoma State, goes to Arkansas, goes somewhere else, if you're looking at Spav of never being in Texas State, he's an ideal and perfect candidate for it. He's not going to get that job. There's 0% chance they're going to bring him back there. What's the other type of platform that he could be in? He's really had most of his success in the state of Texas. I'm assuming, like a Joey McGuire did, he'll wait for the right opportunity there. I think he'll return. If Aranda is head coach, I expect Spavital to be back at Baylor, unless one of the Blue Bloods makes a $1 million, $2 million, $5 million push to go get him. And that's always a possibility, but that's a very good possibility. Baylor won't go 6-6 if they do that. So I like a lot of the staff that they're doing. I like what they're building. I like the long-term vision. Baylor has had their best success when we have stability. Outside of Matt Rule's 4 years, the best success that we've ever had, Grant Taft, Art Briles, Dave Aranda, when we have had stability. Even Dave Aranda that first year had some stability, with Joey McGuire being his assistant head coach and a lot of returning talent. Stability. It's funny, though, college football, I'd say, is the most unstable it's been. The true point is, who cares how you can recruit? Can you drop a $20 million bag on a bunch of transfers and rebuild your team like Tech did, like Indiana did? Indiana is likely to go back-to-back college football playoffs. They're definitely in the running. And as a legacy Purdue guy, my parents and grandparents all went there. Indiana football sucks. What the heck is going on here? That's like Baylor going to 2 college football playoffs back-to-back 15, 20 years ago. Like Art Briles starting it, Art Briles never happened. Matt Rule never happened. Aranda comes in and boom, all of a sudden we're going to college football games, college football playoff games. That's what happened at Indiana. I haven't looked at Indiana's high school recruiting rankings. I guarantee you they're not top 30. But what did they do? They identified the right type of players in the transfer portal to run their schemes. I think Baylor has done a solid job of that offensively, especially at the wide receiver positions. We haven't needed to do that at running back because we recruited very well there. Offensive line, Fugar, it has been a good take. They've got another one of their tackles, I think, is a transfer. I cannot remember his name all of a sudden. But they've kind of balanced it between offense and on the offensive line between transfers and high school takes. Defensively, Dave Aranda's tried to build his entire defensive line outside of Jackie Marshall out of transfers, especially the nose tackle position, because he hasn't been able to recruit anybody for that. Cooper Lands played it last year unsuccessfully. He's now at strong side defensive end and finally healthy. DK Kalu is a guy that they like for the future, but they've had to really recruit at that weak side linebacker spot, at both linebacker spot, with Keaton Thomas being a transfer. Safety has not worked out well. They've had to really load on transfers there and get a surprise walk-on like Jacob Redding. Cornerback play has not been good. That's an area that they've really struggled with. And that's also an area that I think Aranda's on his 3rd or 4th cornerbacks coach now. So you talk about a lack of stability. Offensive line, on their 3rd or 4th offensive line coach. Where have they been successful? Wide receiver. Oh, wow. They've had the same wide receiver coach for the past X number of years. They've been better at linebacker. They've been better at wide receiver. They've been better at running back. They've had good running back takes. Keenan Hall is a stud. They've got spots in the recruiting staff that are very stable and delivering results. And it's no surprise where we're struggling at is where they've had a lot of turnover, especially offensive line and cornerbacks. Those are in such high demand on the recruiting trail. It takes years to be able to develop these relationships. I don't start developing a relationship with a senior or a junior. You have to start building a relationship with a freshman and sophomore when they start coming to that camp. So Mason Miller is trying to do that in his second year on campus. Paul Gonzalez is trying to do that. They've gotten some good cornerback and safety recruits. Some of them haven't worked out. So they have to develop better. They have to find the right guys better. Are they identifying the right players to fit the right role? Offensively, I think they are. Defensively, I don't know yet. I don't know. I think there's some bright spots. I love what DJ Coleman could be. I love Cooper Lands at strong side defensive end. Caleb Burns really popped out to me yesterday in the game.
He made some plays. Yeah.
I think he's going to be a dude. Give him an offseason. Don't recruit anybody. Don't bring anybody in the transfer portal. Make him your starting weak side linebacker. And I think you're going to be very, very happy with that. So they've got some blocks. LeVar Thornton Jr., they missed him yesterday. Tevin Williams, Caden Jenkins. Caden Jenkins has been really, really strong this year. It's mainly been slot and the other side of the field that has struggled with. Tevin Williams can't play 100% of the snaps. So Baylor doesn't have a ton of depth at cornerback, even though they've recruited a lot of bodies. Development, making sure the right guys are playing, keeping those right guys on staff, on the field and in the locker room. They've had a lot of transfers in the defensive backfield. So I don't know. That's a long way of saying I have no flipping idea what's going to happen, and none of us do. This is what we love about college football. There's 12 data points to make a decision on multiple millions of dollars of livelihood for dozens of families, and we're 5 data points in. We've seen some good, we've seen some bad. That's not a lot of data yet. There's still more to come that will tell the full story of this season.
I will tell you that Kirk Cinetti has a 28 ranked recruiting class. 2026.
Not playing for him today. Not playing for him today. For next year, maybe.
They were 39th last year, I believe, is what I saw. But when you think about Kirk, and I just what I see, the guy demands a lot and he holds everyone to the fire. And he's not Nick Saban, but he's done a really good job everywhere he's been. And that's what I love about Nick Saban. That's what I love about Kirby Smart, is that the standard is the standard and we cannot renegotiate the standard. So I've been waiting for Dave Aranda to provide us a standard of what the defense will look like the past 2 years, and we yet to get one. And I think
100% agreed.
And that's the frustration.
That's his biggest issue. And I still don't know what the identity of this defense is. What do they really want to do? It feels like we are too much of a chameleon to who we are facing, as in we are letting the offense dictate what we do versus us doing what we do and dictating what the offense has to do. And those are very different philosophies. Look at offensively, Art Briles. I'm going to run the ball down your throat till you stop, and then I'm going to throw it over you once you stop the run. And I'm going to do that every game until you make me do it otherwise. And that was his strategy. It wasn't, this team plays a one high safety, so we shouldn't run the ball. We should do a lot of quick screens and pass and just really no, I'm going to run the ball. And if you stop it with your one high shell or one high safety look, okay, I'll start passing it. But I'm going to do what I do. I see Baylor try that offensively. I don't know what Baylor defensively does. Are we a 4-man front or a 3-man front? Are we a zone blitz team? Are we a peso team with 2 defensive linemen and 2 edges and 2 more jacks? Are we a coverage team? Are we a man team? I think we're more of a zone team, but in key downs, we'll throw some man out there. So how are we dictating the defense? What are we dictating the offense to do? Because nope, we are fully taking this away. I don't care. This is who we are, and this is what we're going to be great at. I have no idea what the defense does there.
Great stuff, gentlemen. Great stuff. Tim, it's almost time for us to sign off. It's been wonderful, as always, having you, brother. last chance on anything we didn't get to today. Reaction to OSU or looking ahead to this coming weekend against Kansas State. Where are you at?
We won. We won a game that we were in control of for the most part. It wasn't exactly what we wanted it to be look like, but it was still an 18-point win on the road in a place that Baylor has had horror story upon horror story at. It was a win against a Power 4 team that had a little bit of juice off of a coaching change. We've lost games like that, even at home against TCU 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever that was. So we always dwell on the negatives. There were a lot of positives. The running game worked, and we didn't have to have Bryson carry it 25 times. Sawyer took care of the ball and protected the ball. He really only threw, I counted one pass that was really should have been intercepted.
Yep.
The rest of it, and I got so mad at my 13-year-old son. He's like, wow, Sawyer's playing a great game. He hasn't even thrown a bad ball yet. And the next ball, he throws that ball. I was like, are you kidding me right now, kid? Get out. You're done. You're done. You jinxed it. Get out of here.
Well, he paid for it rooting for Penn State later on.
He did. I don't know why he decided to be a Penn State fan for like 2 hours of his life, but he learned a hard lesson. Baylor can beat Kansas State. Kansas State has struggled with explosive plays. That's Baylor's bread and butter. Baylor has struggled when teams, historically under Arana, when teams can both pass and run. Kansas State has not proved to me that they can throw the ball effectively.
Right.
Can Baylor man up and make sure they are gap and assignment positive and do their jobs and hold them to losses? It's going to be a bend and don't break. They're going to allow a lot of field goals, and hopefully it looks a lot like defensively what we saw against Arizona State. Arizona State's a very similar team to me with Kansas State. Levitt is more electric. Johnson is more powerful. They run a lot of the same type of quick screens and draws and quarterback power and a lot of that kind of stuff. If Baylor's defense plays like they did against Arizona State, I think we're going to be in a very good spot because Arizona State's a better team than Kansas State. But that's a big if. So I'm optimistic. I'm excited about it. Get to 4-2, get to the bye week, let that bye week mojo roll over you, and go into TCU and beat up on some frogs. And everybody's all happy and not even worried about anything.
You're right. If we go into TCU and beat up on some frogs, I'll feel good, regardless of what else happens, because that is the most. There are some Baylor fans, Tim. I won't say who. I've heard some Baylor fans say if we went 1-11, but we beat TCU, I'd be okay. I've heard some say that. Couldn't
I
ever
wouldn't
be
be
me.
okay, but I wouldn't be terribly mad.
I would be pissed. You don't have to worry about how I feel there. But Tim, I think your analysis of the roster, the team, and what we see each week is spot on. And so I appreciate you joining us. I know we chat throughout the week via text. So I appreciate not only you getting on here as a co-contributor, but also a friend. So it's always great to kick it with you and Scotty for sure. Maybe next time we get the entire game together.
Yeah, I'm going to call out Kevin and Andrew for being too busy for us. I'm never too busy for you guys. You know,
I'm going to call out
Andrew. Yeah, never too busy for your real friends.
I'm going to call out Andrew for not, buying a lottery ticket with us. but wanting to celebrate with us, live the dream.
He was not going to come on the yacht. He was not coming on the yacht.
No, he was not. We're going to be sitting there waving at him as we're riding off. Hey,
well, listen.
My last. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Your last thought's way more important than what I was about to say.
Hey, let's not rest in complacency, man. We won a game that we're supposed to win. Like, this should be the best week of practice. Every week you should be getting better, and you should review film, and you should find opportunities to coach players up. Even the best players that had the cleanest games, there's something that you can coach. And I'm not saying beat them and not celebrate what they do well, but man, we need to continue to get better so we can have a chance to go out here and win a Big 12 title. I mean, I think the Big 12 is wide open, especially in the middle of the packs. One of these top teams are going to get knocked off. Iowa State is looking good. Texas Tech had a week off, but now they go to Houston next week. That's a big game for both of those teams. And, guys, we're right there in the mix. We just got to keep playing well. And I feel like each week we like don't know what type of practice we've had, and that just sometimes shows up on the game field. And we got to be better. So we got to fight complacency.
What I was gonna say, you have a way higher chance in your life of getting a yacht than me. And so just extend me the invite, boys. Just either way. Either way.
Listen, we'll do this show in the middle of the ocean, bro.
Dude, that would actually be crazy.
We got to hit up Elon for a Starlink connection, or else we're going to be buffering like I don't know what.
Yeah, we learned that week 1 at Green and Gold Game Day. Tim Watkins joins us. Check out Bears Illustrated, Baylor Bears 247 on X. Tim, anything else you wanna pitch to the good people, or are you good to go?
I'm good, man. Sick 'em Bears, love everybody. Let's do this.
Sick 'em Bears, love everybody. Let's freaking do this. I love it. Terrence, it's been fun. Want to thank Gather & Co. for sponsoring us. Hey, if you're in Central Texas and you want to make your house a home, call my friends Kelly and the team at Gather & Co. They specialize in those outdoor spaces. If you need an outdoor kitchen, pergola, outdoor kind of living space to watch college football in October, don't you want it? Call my friends Gather & Co. And then the other thing that they're great at is those kind of accessible bathrooms. If you got mom or dad living with you, man, it's so important. Make sure they're safe. They can still bathe themselves. That's I've experienced that in my own family. So call them, let them make your bathroom a comfortable space for anybody in your family. That'd be great. Terrence, that was your last word, huh? Anything else? Oh, we're good. I can't even hear Terrence through his microphone. He's done. Terrence said, I'm done. You're reading the promo. I'm done. Get out of here with that. All right, brother. Well, for Terrence Ganaway, for Tim Watkins, it's been a great night. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you follow. Please bear with me. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on X. I'd really appreciate it. Big week, y'all. Big week. I'm actually going to be talking to a Kansas State insider tomorrow. I don't do this most weeks. He couldn't join us tonight, so I'm going to talk with him tomorrow. I'll probably go live with that around 4:30 p.m. If that's too early for you tomorrow, it will be posted afterward on YouTube. So I'd love for you to join us as we get some insight on this Kansas State roster, who, again, I think this Kansas State team is pretty parallel to Baylor this season in terms of high expectations and some anxiety in that fan base. So let's win this Saturday. Sick 'em Bears. We'll talk to you next time. Let me make sure the outro video is ready to go. Producer/host here. This has been and will always be. Please bear with me. Good night, y'all.
We are Rogue Media Sports.